Hello guys, and welcome back to Replay the Video Game Aficionado. In our last episode, I introduced you to this channel and the Remember Me franchise. Today, we will take a look at our first installment in a series with Memorize the Beginning. This is a blog on the blogging platform Tumblr. It was created as an introduction to the things in the game and serves as a precursor for Antoine's journal, which we will discover within the next episodes. Memorize the Beginning follows Antoine Cartier-Wells, the founder of Memorize, grandfather of Nillen. Let's see how the events that happened influenced him and his idea of sharing memory comes to life. First, only in his head, when he was writing down his thoughts in this blog. But as time goes on, you can watch him as he makes his technical progress until the very first prototype of Sensen, the human-machine interface which can access human memory. While our adventure starts in 1984 with the birth of Antoine, the blog is beginning in 2013, when Antoine moved from France to San Francisco. As an introduction, I was cutting out a video from Antoine's journal, which we will cover in the next episode, so we can have a small view on his childhood for better continuity. But first of all, thank you to all subscribers and their feedback. I know the audio was a pain in the ass the last time, and I promise it will getting better from now on. I would like to share some of the feedback with you. Simon wrote, "Hey Alex, your channel sucks. It's boring and it didn't grab me." Hey Simon, thank you for your honest opinion. I present things which are made by others, and I have to confess, sometimes they're a bit lengthy, but I will try to improve the given material in a fun way. Nonetheless, I tried to bring some additional fun to it. In the last episode I hid some Easter eggs and references, but it seemed that they weren't found because no one looked at it. Considering my audience, I'm going to make this really quick. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. I have the only fun on board. Welcome to Spoil Air. At the end of this episode, I will spoil all Easter eggs from the last episode. So stay tuned. Let's start with a small glimpse on Antoine's childhood.
It's 256 processors capable of analyzing over 200 million moves per second.
The first adult mammal ever to be successfully cloned. It sparked debates the world over about the
top website for 1998. The tiny startup Google has moved.
In 2013, Antoine is moved to San Francisco. This is where this blog is starting.
The thoughts of Antoine in this blog are subjectively, but the described events are real and where truly happen. It's very interesting how Antoine is interpreting this. Please feel yourself invited to do it on your own. While the blog starts with the last entry, I scrolled it down to the beginning at the bottom. We will start from there. This is the story of Antoine, the founder of Memorize and creator of the sensational engine, Sensen. As you can see here, the term Sensen is an abbreviation for Sensational Engine, the name of the software. Memory is a diary we all carry about with us, by Oscar Wilde. With all the new possibilities of my research, I start to wonder how much longer we'll be able to keep that diary completely private. I can't quite decide on what this logo should look like. So many ideas, yet none of them quite right. I lose so many of these notebooks, I decided the best way to preserve it was make it digital. In memory, everything seems to happen to music, by Tennessee Williams. Not the power to remember, but its very opposite, the power to forget, is a necessary condition for our existence. Cesare Pavese. This quote has inspired me for such a long time. This was one of my earliest iterations of the sensation engine, Sensen. It features a simple AR overlay that allows you to place pins at important locations around your city. This was where it all started. Posted on March the 20th in 2013. My first trip out of Paris had led me to a scholarship in San Francisco, where I can work and develop my vision for the sensation engine. San Francisco is a revelation. The people, the city. I can hardly recognize myself amongst the organized chaos. And of course, as always, there's a girl. My eidetic memory has never allowed or encouraged me to form strong relationships. But this one girl, there's something about her I can't quite put my finger on. My first and only encounter with her came when she went out of her way to point me in the right direction. She must have recognized how clearly lost I was. As she walked away, leaving me bewildered and embarrassed, I managed to awkwardly blurt out the simplest of questions. With a very smile and without breaking stride, she shouted back, "Molly." No matter how long we exist, we have our memories. Points in time which time itself cannot erase. But what if there was a way to change that? This was one of my first thoughts when creating Memorize and the sensing technology. The following text is a short summary of the article which is linked above. Who wants to read the full article can access it on the Tumblr blog or download it as a PDF file. Simply click on the link. The forgetting pills erases painful memories forever. This new model of memory isn't just a theory. Neuroscientists actually have a molecular explanation of how and why memories change. In fact, their definition of memory has broadened to encompass not only the cliché cinematic scenes from childhood, but also the persisting mental loops of illnesses like post-traumatic stress disorder and addiction, and even pain disorders like neuropathy. Unlike most brain research, the field of memory has actually developed simpler explanations. Whenever the brain wants to retain something, it relies on just a handful of chemicals. Even more startling, an equally small family of compounds could turn out to be a universal eraser of history. A pill that we could take whenever we wanted to forget anything. And researchers have found one of these compounds. In the near future, the act of remembering will become a choice. I have the name, I have the concept, and I know the heights of where I want all of this to lead. I find myself perplexed by seemingly the simplest task. Allowing myself to choose one of my sketched logos is proving the most taxing core of all. My real work slots in with every free waking moment, nestled somewhere between Molly and studying, although Molly is becoming more and more of an integral aspect of my research. Her presence and creative mind often venture places mine will not allow. University, though unchallenging, it is an experience. People's attitudes and motivations are fascinating, and I dream of the time when my Sensen will be ready to recognize these simple yearnings and translate them into something tangible. Something that will eventually make languages obsolete and bind people beyond the borders of language. A memory is what is left when something happens and does not completely unhappen, by Edward de Bono, one of the most creative thinkers our generation has known. He coined the term lateral thinking and is a strong leader and supporter of teaching thinking as a subject in schools. An incredible mind and such an inspiration to me throughout my work. These early sketches were where the Sensen started. I want to make sure each is recorded and chronicled so eventually people will be able to see the journey as a whole. It looks so simple on paper, but the reality is a very different story. Hopefully soon I'll have physical photos to share with all of you. Brain scanning headphones match songs to your mood. The headphones feature a protruding electroencephalograph EEG sensor that scans brain patterns to match a person's mood with an appropriate song. This is a great point of inspiration for what I'm trying to achieve, although it is slightly simpler and infinitely more commercial. The principle of being able to read your mood and then communicate this somehow is fascinating too. Our memories are the only paradise from which we can never be expelled. Jean-Paul Richter, or Johann Paul Friedrich Richter, as it was his original name. For some, this is a comforting thought, one that can bring peace and safety. For me, however, this eidetic memory, my inability to forget anything, is often more of a burden than a blessing. Jean-Paul Richter calls it a paradise. With these memories I am making now here in San Francisco, I am beginning to understand what this paradise might look like. The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it and join the dance. Alan Watts. This place is so different from France. It's overwhelming. Not just visually, but the intentions, the dreams, the attitude of the people to everything. What a strange but wonderful place America is. I have finally launched my company, Memorize. Not just a job, but my own company, which seems to be the key, the first part of the riddle. But will this unlock my dream? Or will it end and I become a slave to somebody else's? Here's a place I can start to find out who I am, what I am worth, and the worth of my Sensen. Browsing in a scruffy second-hand bookshop in Chinatown, I picked up a book by philosopher Alan Watts, opened it and read. The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it and join the dance. Which is what I fully intend to do. And it finally started to feel real. Researchers replace passwords with mind-reading past thoughts. This is an incredible innovation. It is the beginning of man and machine merging. The lines are already blurred. Hopefully my Sensen can bring us even closer. Participants completed 7 different mental tasks with the device, including imagining their finger moving up and down and choosing a personalized secret. Simple actions like focusing on breathing or on a thought for 10 seconds resulted in successful authentication. When you're gone, all that's left behind are the memories you created in other people's lives. This is a quote from the movie My Blueberry Nights from 2007. You deliberately remember to forget. Aldous Huxley. Brain painting system is proof of concept for interacting with our computers by thought alone. It could be a supplement to trackpads, keyboards, touch panels, and other systems for interacting with computers. GTech already has software that can detect which items on a screen a user is paying attention to. If you're used to working at a computer screen that's full of different windows, imagine a system that brings whichever one of them you're looking at to the foreground. This is pretty basic stuff, little more than a gimmick. If we want computers to interact with us properly, then they need to understand our feelings, not just our habits. Understanding comes from data, and computers' big advantage is they can process as much data as we can feed them. In this sense, they are insatiable, as are we to discover if we can join with them in some future utopia. We are nothing more than patterns, and computers are nothing less than machines to analyze and predict patterns. A collision of some kind is inevitable. Memories establish the past, senses perceive the present, imaginations shape the future. Toba Bita. Molly shows me a whole other America, a bubbling undercurrent, a web of connected resistance to the mainstream, crisscrossing the country, East Coast, West Coast, Austin, Chicago, Detroit. And what is funny is that it exists in tandem with startup culture, the very reason I'm here. The frontier of a new capitalism, hand in hand with the counterculture. Lectures, music, protest, books, all of this heading somewhat recklessly in the same direction as Memorize. Strange that Occupy Wall Street is part of the same culture that will make me and many other grassroots capitalists very rich. The first memory will show the individual's fundamental view of life, his first satisfactory crystallization of his attitude. I would never investigate a personality without asking for the first memory. Alfred Adler. Man in coma uses his thoughts to tell doctors, "I'm not in pain." Back in 2010, neuroscientists confirmed that it was possible to communicate with some patients locked in a vegetative state by using a functional magnetic resonance imaging scanner. Though limited, the breakthrough suggested that more meaningful dialogue with patients in a coma could someday be possible. And now, 2 years later, it has finally happened. A Canadian man in a vegetative state has used his thoughts to tell scientists that he is not in any pain, marking the first time a patient in such a condition has relayed information relevant to their care. This proves that my funny-looking headsets are more than just a gimmick. This is real science that makes a real difference. This will become ammo for me against the naysayers. I just hope one day we will all wake up from our collective coma of short-sightedness. Molly has been great and introduced me to all her friends. It's still a novel feeling being a central piece of the social puzzle. But they all seem happy to wear my silly-looking headset and answer all my questions. I knew nobody when I arrived here, and now I feel I fit in. People understand what I'm about, because in some way it's what they want to do too. To live without borders, to talk without walls. Isn't this what we all want? In many ways we are so different, but she totally understands my obsession with data and data flow. There would be no Sensen without her. I'd just be a clever guy without a clue. Her sense of design will also help this clumsy headset look cool and more with it. It will be a device that can live in the world without being laughed at. The past scampers like an alley cat through the present, leaving the paw prints of memories scattered helter-skelter. Charles Delin. Samsung demos a tablet controlled by your brain. This is great because it's practical. It truly empowers. Imagine all the disabled people who will find a voice and catch up with us. All the fucked up kids, all that potential unlocked, all adding to our collective endeavors. Now I'm sounding like Molly. But this type of research is what makes me want to get out of bed. Also, I feel the distance between humanity and computers is even greater. The brain is, and always has been, the key. Molly is so enthused by all these groups, meetings, talks, protests. I go along to keep her happy and to satisfy my own curiosity. I just want to work and don't really understand where these radical ideals are going. Are we becoming an entitled democratic elite, just like the Greeks? All I can see is the slaves, which is what we will become, unless we can achieve parity with technology. This social elite makes me laugh. But I play along for Molly's sake. It must be love. In my opinion, the real problems in the world need bigger solutions than all this indulgent blabbering. Facebook and all that it has spawned is in the process of making itself redundant. There needs to be more than just another social network. Surveillance. Them watching us watching them. Oh, this is a nice pun. For those of you who do not understand French, the French word sous means under, so you can say under surveillance. Molly's group of friends are blinded by optimism, or bribed by the profits that playing alone brings them. Sensen will change the game, an emotional resonating megaphone to really get people's attention. This entry was created on May the 80th in 2013. Of what significance are the things you can forget? Henry David Thoreau. There was a book written in the year I was born, which laid it all out. A hacker's Bible, you could call it. Hackers, Heroes of the Computer Revolution, written in 1984. Whatever we do has been done, and whatever we think has been thought. Here are the core principles, written way back then. Access to computers and anything which might teach you something about the way the world works should be unlimited and total. All information should be free. Mistrust authority. Promote decentralization. Hackers should be judged by their hacking, not bogus criteria such as degrees, age, race or position. You can create art and beauty on a computer. Computers can change your life for the better. For me, it's a fine line between these revolutionary principles and what the LulzSec anonymous guys are doing, which is criminal. LulzSec was a group of hackers that claimed responsibility for several high-profile attacks. Where do I sit? What am I? I have the same tools as they do. Share their ethos. I can build or tear down and rebuild. What will I do? I do know Sensen will change the game, an emotional resonating megaphone to blow society's cobwebs away. In addition to that, there are 2 articles from the newspaper, which you can see in the pictures. Due to the low resolution, it can be hard to read, so I will read it for you. The articles are real and describing events which were real happened. Occupy protesters celebrate in San Francisco, by Justin Burton. Hundreds of Occupy protesters returned to the streets of San Francisco on Monday to mark the movement's first birthday. In contrast to past protests, however, these demonstrations were more celebratory than angry, more festive than confrontational. The protesters spent much of the afternoon marching around the financial district before rallying outside the former Bank of America headquarters and holding a street party in front of Wells Fargo's headquarters. A smaller contingent of about 75 people then marched to Justin Herman Plaza, site of last year's Occupy San Francisco encampment, shouting, "Welcome home! Welcome home!" and pledging to re-establish the camp even though they had no tents or supplies. "Put it on Facebook! Put it on Twitter!" cried out Zaigam Kabir, 27, a self-described floater who moves from place to place and lived in the original Occupy San Francisco camp. "Tell everyone to come down to the plaza, we're back!" It was unclear, however, how much support there was for a new camp. When one protester called for General Assembly, the group's traditional way of making decisions, others said, "No, let's just party." They strung a banner between two lampposts that read, "Unstoppable, never surrender." But the crowd shrank as the night wore on, dwindling to about 80 people and 4 dogs after 10 p.m. Some homeless people left the plaza when the protesters arrived. The protests began early in the afternoon as about 100 people gathered in Justin Herman Plaza, where they chatted and snacked while small groups demonstrated at the nearby Spear Towers and at banks in the Castro district. As the afternoon faded into evening, the group marched around the financial district, blocking Market Street for more than a half hour before heading to the former Bank of America headquarters at California and Kearny Streets for a 5 p.m. rally. About 300 protesters, some holding signs with messages such as "Foreclose banks, not homes," gathered there and listened to speeches condemning the financial industry and the nation's income inequality. Now the second article. Anonymous hackers breach San Francisco's BART transport website, by Jason Powers. The anonymous online hacker collective broke into a website belonging to San Francisco's public transport body on Sunday after the authorities threatened to thwart an anti-police protest by throttling the city's mobile phone networks. The hackers said the attack was in retaliation for an attempt by the BART, the Bay Area Rapid Transit Group, to stifle demonstrations about the fatal shooting of a man by police last month. Anonymous published contact details of more than 2,000 Bay Area residents, apparently stolen from the site, which was inaccessible on Monday morning. The incident is the latest standoff in a freedom of speech battle between authorities and online activists. A separate hacker group last week defaced the official website of Research in Motion, the BlackBerry maker, after the company said it would cooperate with the police investigation into the English riots. In a message posted on the hacked BART site on Sunday, Anonymous wrote, "We are Anonymous. We are your citizens. We are the people. We do not tolerate oppression from any government agency. BART has proved multiple times that they have no problem exploiting and abusing the people." A BART spokesman told local media the FBI and Department for Homeland Security were investigating the attack. He added, "We are going to take steps to make sure our customers are safe. The interruption of mobile phone service was done Thursday to prevent what could have been a dangerous situation. It's one of the tactics we have at our disposal. We may use it, we may not, and I'm not sure we would necessarily let anyone know in advance either way." Anonymous bills itself as fighters for internet freedom. The amorphous group shot to notoriety in December 2010 for attacks on global firms, including Visa and PayPal, after those companies severed ties with the founder of WikiLeaks, Julian Assange. More recently, the collective has expressed support for the Arab uprisings and called on Western communities to rebel against authorities. On Sunday, Anonymous said it sympathized with the riots and looting across parts of England last week. It described the demonstrations as a product of decades of neglect inflicted on your country by various governments. Stem cell transplant restores memory, learning in mice. Chemicals grow into nerve cells. Feeling, emotion is the most basic level sparked by nerve cell activity. We can grow memory from the simplest of chemical reactions. Memorize will create the digital stem cells of the future. Memory is both chemical and digital. The difference will be that it's easier to commodify the digital version. Of course, the biochem industry will tell you otherwise. The race is on. Created by my friend Devin Supertramp, this is the first official mood film for Memorize. In 2013, it is safe to say that memories are the last private and intimate pieces of ourselves that haven't been uploaded to social media for others to see. Every day, everything we see, hear, touch and feel is stored in real time in our brains. Our memories define who we are. In the future, this final barrier will, no doubt, be brought down. It is inevitable. Memorize, a Paris-based corporation, is leading this technological revolution with their Sensen technology. This is a speech by Memorize founder Antoine Cartier-Wells.
Here's a thought for you. What is the greatest computer? Mac, PC? How about the huge mainframe computers they have at NASA? No. You see, up here in our heads, this is the greatest computer. And your eyes, I see you all still have your eyes open, that's good. But do you know what you are seeing? I mean, really seeing? Every second, every single second, your eyes take in 72 gigabytes of information. The world's greatest camera. Now, is that not incredible? A computer and a camera. And this data, this code, is up here behind the firewall of our personality. 86 billion neurons evolved to understand, to translate, to give us our vision of the world around us. The mountains, rivers, great savannas, every animal in all their incredible shapes and sizes. Friends, family, lovers, the people around you now, everything and everyone you have ever met are all here. They're all stories, memories, charged with emotion. Your happiness, your sadness, your joy, frustration, your loves lost. And this collection of stories makes you an ongoing project that only comes to an end when we die. Your memories are your life. Above all, we have a genetic imperative, a unique desire to share what makes us human, our sense of self and our ability to share who we are, our greatest gift. Let's rewind a little. Cave paintings. First we paint to say I was here, then we paint to say why we are here, to pass on knowledge, experience, to build on what we know. For this is evolution, sharing for survival. We share more and more. Now we share our friends, we share our favorite on YouTube, our location, we share intimate photos. Maybe sometimes a little more after a few drinks. Every time we share, we are reflecting our personality, ourselves. But this is normal. Innovation changes the game. Always. 20,000 years ago, 1,000, 10 years, tomorrow, it doesn't matter. Interference is a good thing. Whether it be a smile or a tattoo with a phone in your pocket. Disruption and innovation of all sorts creates rifts and makes possible unimaginable leaps forward in technology and communication. Today, we see a world on fire with data, with information. But there's a revolution around the corner. Nothing less than the total translation of our human emotions, these urges, into information. Pure communication. I believe we are at the frontier. Ahead lies the Internet of you. An Internet of pure emotion, genuine connection to finally take us beyond the cave painting. This is not science fiction. Doctors can talk to people in comas. You can control a toy with your mind. This is now a world of shared emotion, where the greatest experiences are magnified a million, a billion times. Can you imagine love? Now can you imagine a love that is a billion times more powerful? And empathy, true feeling. A new future, a world that we will create, but the borders of language will be gone. Imagine what we will be able to achieve. Remember me. Remember where you were. The next generation of social media is coming. For tomorrow is the future we all share.
The now following text is a speech you just heard in the clip, so we can skip that and scroll up. Man, I really like this speech in the additional clip. It brings tears to my eyes every time I see it. The clip is just amazing. Every single cell in the human body replaces itself over a period of 7 years. That means there is not even the smallest part of you now that was part of you 7 years ago. Everything is changing. Stephen Hall, the Rorschach texts. So the part of you that dies is not the you now, but somebody that hasn't come into existence yet. It's memories that makes a part of you biologically that dies have meaning to the whole you. Only in our memories do we understand death. Our bodies don't. Again, the patterns created by our minds become memories and are the only part of us that can live forever. Again, I suspect this is only possible with the help of machines, which is why I have to concentrate on achieving data parity with them in my baby Sensen. Conceptual Shark by Matthew Grundy. Just finished reading Rorschach texts. It seems to me this is what Sensen is potentially all about. By preserving memory as part of an emotional state or even experience, then we get closer to some kind of truth or kind of verifiable story. That's an exciting part of the future that machines can, ironically or not, help us with. So we have chemical memory, digital memory, and also fictional memory, which is in effect the one that affects us the most. Sensen has to help articulate our stories. That's it. That's finally what I see as my goal. In a world of conflict, disaster, and personal loss, we can help make everyone's life a better story. There's money in sex, that's for sure. But I don't want Sensen to be that sex app. How to have fun with his ability to read sexual arousal, with being seen as a gimmick and undermining the real work we need to do. It's tricky, but a part of me would rather leave completely than become known as a sex gadget guru. Our bodies can't lie. If we are hungry, thirsty, or feeling sexy, the body gives off signals. We are at the mercy of our urges. Sensen simply communicates this to the metrics of exchange, which is just a way of connecting to desire and release, to enable brands and consumer profiling to pinpoint when it's best to sell us something. I sometimes feel like a digital shopkeeper, sometimes barely that. The last entry in this blog is from May 30th in 2013. Thanks to Molly, this design looks great. Our ship is finally about to sail. If only I had a crystal ball to see what comes next. There's no device for that. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that you can do everything yourself. You have to trust, to let go, to let other people in. That's a big step for me. What will be the next one? Do Molly and I stay together? How will Sensen shape our lives for the next so many years? Enough of this. Just for tonight. Everything feels right and the future looks rosy. Must be the wine talking. And I'm French, so I love to dream. And here we are, on the brink of a new era, the first usable version of the Sensation engine, or shortly Sensen. We witness the birth of Memorize, a Google for the human mind, a company which will soon leading the market and deliver a whole new kind of product to the customer. Memories.
Thank you for watching the second episode. Like I explained in the first episode, this video isn't only for entertainment. There are people out there which slowly lost their memories because of Alzheimer's disease. This and the upcoming episodes were created to pay attention to these people. But you can help and it will cost you nothing. The only thing you have to do is to like, share or better subscribe. This will help us to continue this project and reach a greater audience. If you want to do more, please feel free to support us on Patreon or support the Cash for Memory campaign on cashformemory.org. This money supports the Alzheimer's Disease International Organization. Every single amount counts. The account will be open as long as there is no cure for Alzheimer's disease. As I said in the last episode, there are some things highlighted here which can be fun to spot. The first and probably most obvious is the beginning. This is an almost exact copy of the opening scene from the movie Swordfish with John Travolta and Hugh Jackman, and the boobs of Halle Berry. It was rewritten a bit to fit to the games industry, but camera angle, zoom, lens blur, facial expression and voice was imitated as much as possible, and was hell of a work to capture. The second reference is an easy one too. I was talking about bugs as big as in Starship Troopers, which is clearly from the movie Starship Troopers of director Paul Verhoeven, who was also responsible for some other good old violent movies, like RoboCop.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Ah, fuck you!
And Total Recall. No, not the remake. Yes, now we got the right one. When I mentioned Donut Entertainment and Remember Me, I also make a reference to another famous game of the studio, Life is Strange. The fourth Easter egg is a very hard one to find. It's a quote from the awesome movie School of Rock with the outstanding performance of Jack Black. As he stands in front of his class, he talks about the way of rock and that it's meant to be to make the bosses pay. I quoted this line within the opening scene. The next one is even a very hard one to find. In the last episode, I made a promise to you that remember me won't be the same once you have seen it through my eyes. This is a tagline from the movie poster of Forrest Gump, stated that the world won't be the same once you have seen it through the eyes of Forrest Gump. Right after that, I challenge you to head right into Uncharted territory, named the famous Uncharted games, a great series which I would love to make someday. Soon before the glove case is closing, I said it's time to say goodbye to the people we met along the way, the good ones and even the bad ones. This is a reference to the intro sequence of Remember Me, when the old woman talks about her memories. There are also two things which I wouldn't call Easter eggs, but they were used as an inspiration for the setting. The first one is a music video to the song Here to Stay from the band Korn. At the beginning, there's a small boy sitting in an old chair under the roof. The second inspiration was taken from the short movie The Secret Number, of director Colin Levi. He used interesting camera angles to make a certain scene more exciting, even if it's just two guys sitting in a room and talking. I tried to copy that. That were all Easter eggs from the last episode. I hope you don't miss the things hidden in this one. Feel free to write in the comments. I will give some hints in the next episode. Thank you for your attention and join me next time, when we will have a look into Antoine's journal and cover what will happen during the next 3 years. Thank you for watching and have a great night. Bye.